Bleacher Report, live stream audience, YouTube, post live stream, upload audience. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm just talking to the people watching these live streams or these after the fact YouTube uploads to say, what's going on, everybody? How are we doing? How are we feeling? It seems like every time I go live, we were doing cross double programming with the Knicks and the Pacers. Didn't go well for the Knicks last time I was live. This time, hopefully it goes a little bit better. I guess I'm rooting for the Knicks. I know a couple of people, some buddies of mine that are Knicks fans. I don't know any Pacers fans. If you're out there, leave a comment, drop likes. But how's everybody going? How's everybody doing? My name is Rodney. If you already knew that, thank you so much for coming back and watching another Bleacher Report Raiders Daily live stream. If you're watching after the fact on my YouTube channel, ALLaBorde Raiders, thank you so much. Like always, if we're in the chat, let's get things going here. I see Feet says, I'm here, but on the road, listening, but no chat. Yes, do not chat. If you're listening to me while you're behind the wheel of a car, do not look at your phone. Drive safe. I hope I don't distract you. But I appreciate you being here and listening. Denode, what's going on? I'm sure I'll have other people popping in and out of here. May 29th, you might think slow news week. Not for the Raiders, not for me. Last year, I posted a video a day in June, okay? I will always find something to talk about Raiders because that is what we love to do here, is talk about Raiders. Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. I will be live at the same time tomorrow, every Thursday and Friday. Just reminding everybody that up top, we do have a lot to talk about because there was a press conference today, and Chip Kelly got in front of a microphone. There was a lot of questions that he had to answer about Genty, about Dante Thornton, about Brock Bowers, Gino Smith, and we talk a lot about the stance of Ashton Genty. Should he stand straight up like Michael Myers? Should he crouch a little bit? I don't know, but we're going to talk about it a lot. There's a lot to talk about. AJ Cole signed an extension. We're going to hit on that a little bit. If you don't think it's important to talk about AJ Cole, you're crazy. That could be the difference between wins and losses, is the foot of AJ Cole. I call it an automatic weapon. If you're in my Discord, ALLaBorde Raiders Discord, that's all I say about him. He's an automatic weapon. I hate to admit it, I shopped at Walmart today. I boycott them since they own the Broncos. You know, when I go to Walmart, and Feet, by the way, if you're driving, don't chat. When I go to Walmart, I typically don't think about the idea that they own the Broncos. But I guess like if I stop going, that doesn't mean they're gonna make any more or less money. I get it though. Hey, try to support your local grocer if you're gonna go be anti-Walmart. Unless they're a sponsor of Bleach Report, I take it all back. Dad'll be 92 next week, and he likes the box wine they sell. 92. That's incredible. Happy birthday to Papa Feet. I hope I can call him that. I didn't just disrespect like a World War II veteran or something. Anyway, we're going to talk about Genty. We're going to talk about Chip Kelly. But first, we need to talk about somebody, and AJ Cole as well. We need to talk about somebody who is back on the practice field. Thank God, because he's like one of the few healthy people. Oh, there you go. My mother can finally see the chat. So by the way, okay, let me stop sharing for 1 second. If you're watching live on Bleach Report and you can't see the chat, what you got to do is delete your Bleach Report account, make a new one. That's what my mom did. She can finally see and talk in the chat. I think if you updated it with your old account, maybe it doesn't let you chat. So if you're one of these people that can't get anything going in the chat, delete your account, make a new one, reinstall the app, and you should be good to go. Malcolm Coons is back. Raiders get key defensive player back on the field. And like I said, thank God, because we just don't know what's going on at all with Christian Wilkins' foot. Defensive end Malcolm Coons returns to practices by our guy Bill Williamson. This is on Silver and Black Pride. We love him. This link is, I believe, on Bleacher Report. May 29th, 11:30. This was today. The Las Vegas Raiders got a major boost this week when starting defensive end Malcolm Coons returned to the practice field for the first time since tearing his ACL 3 days in, 3 days before the 2024 regular season started while on the practice field. God, just knock on wood that we don't have any crazy injuries like that. We probably were the most injured team on defense last year, probably more so than the Lions, but why would anybody talk about us? We won 4 games. I totally understand that. The Raiders are in their 3rd week of voluntary OTAs, and media was allowed to watch practice Thursday. Coons was participating for the first time this spring, according to multiple reports. This is a great sign that Coons should be able to work through training camp and be on pace to play when the regular season starts September 7th. By the way, these seasons seem to be starting like earlier and earlier. I feel like September 14th used to be the day. Now it's September 7th at New England. Coons spoke to the Raiders media members last week and expressed confidence he was making big strides. He signed a 1-year, I'm going to call it prove it deal, for just more than $11 million in free agency this spring. Coons was expected to be a major part of Las Vegas' defense last season, and the same is expected in 2025. Coons surged at the end of the 2023 season. The 2021 third-round pick had 8 of his 10 career sacks in 2023, and now he appears to be on his way to being fully healthy for the start of the season. ESPN reported backup offensive lineman Thayer Mumford returned to practice as well. As expected, it was last reported that defensive tackle Christian Wilkins was still not participating in practice. This Thursday last week, Las Vegas Raiders coach Pete Carroll said Wilkins' return from a broken foot October has been challenging. It has been reported that the team is hopeful Wilkins, who signed a 4-year, $100 million contract, could return to the practice field in August. Okay, that's a little interesting. Also, The Athletic reported that defensive tackle Adam Butler and safety Jeremy Chin were not practicing Thursday for undisclosed reasons. All right. So we got a lot to talk about here. I'm getting a phone call from my guy that works in college football. I'm live on Bleacher Report right now. Sorry. Just had to deal with that. He should know that. Anyway, Malcolm Koonce. Let's talk a little bit about this, okay? We already have drama with Wilkins. We don't need more injury drama. Yeah, no doubt about it. No. Malcolm Koonce, I was saying before the Wilkins injury, rehab, lack thereof, whatever we want to call it, is the key to the Raiders defense. The key for multiple reasons. When we had somebody opposite of Max Crosby in 2023, before Christian Wilkins was even on the roster, we were consistently getting to any quarterback that we played, which gave us a chance in every single game. If you watch that Chiefs game that we played Christmas Day, where Koonce had his breakout game, who Josh McDaniels decided wasn't good enough to start. We'll get to Josh McDaniels in a second and how he compares to Chip Kelly. We were consistently able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, who's, legendary for evading pressure without blitzing a single person, which means that you can drop everybody else in coverage. You send 4 guys at the quarterback. Everybody else can help out in the secondary, and we pin our ears back, and we get sack after sack after sack. And this defense is not going to be as good as the defense was in 2023. I've said that. I have no problem saying that. Everyone says, "Oh, you're the eternal optimist." That this is the reality of the situation. Unless people like Darian Porter and Tommy Eichenberg go leaps and bounds higher than we think, this defense is going to be average at best. But if Koonce can come back and be that version that he was in 2023, he doesn't even have to be better than that. I hope he is, and I expect him to be a little bit better than that. But even if he is, just give me 8 sacks a game. That completely transforms how we are able to perform behind the front four. The linebackers can take a more aggressive mindset and approach to playing defense. The corners will have more help because we can play some nickel guys and not blitz every single time to have to manufacture pressure. Malcolm Koonce is the key to the season. And again, this was me saying that before the Wilkins injury. Now, if he can return to practice in August, that means he should be back to 100% in the first quarter of the season, even if he isn't able to play initially right in the beginning of the season. So I'm going to throw this out here as I read some chats. What are your expectations for Malcolm Koonce? And by the way, if you're not watching this live, if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, I read all the comments. I want to hear your opinion wherever you may be watching this, okay? But what's your expectation of Malcolm Koonce? Is it a breakout year with 10-plus sacks? Is it a solid season like 2023, 6 to 9 sacks? Is it average, around 5 sacks? Or is it disappointing? How do we feel? How do we feel? Hot Mike User says Tonka and the world's biggest running back, J.J. Pequise, are going to step it up as well. I mean, yes, the reason why they hammered that position so much is obviously to have depth at the position, but it's also because they're a little more worried about the Wilkins injury than they were letting on initially, although, nobody asked them about it. but actions speak louder than words. And they can say he could be back in August. They drafted 2 defensive tackles and they re-sign Adam Butler, right? Chip worries me because of his old player, how his old players feel about him, like Josh McDummy. Coming in and changing the stance just makes me shudder thinking about Shady McCoy's experience with him. Okay, hot mic user, you're jumping the gun a little bit. We'll get to that in a second. But what I'll say about that instantly right now is that Chip Kelly did not tell Ashton Jeanty to change his stance. Okay, that has been misreported, misrepresented, and we'll get into that in a second. And I understand the comparisons to Josh McDaniels. But real quickly, nobody thinks Josh McDaniels is a bad coordinator. In fact, I think he's a great coordinator. They just think he's a bad head coach. And if Chip Kelly's a bad head coach, that doesn't mean he's not a great offensive coordinator. So we'll get to that in a second. All that to say, I think I agree with people's expectations of what Malcolm Koonce is going to do. The year after that, I don't know. Will he even be on the team? I don't know. He signed a 1-year prove-it deal. And if he proves it, I think this regime in particular has no problem rewarding homegrown talent. And he is homegrown talent. A draft pick of Josh McDaniels. So only time will tell. But beyond that report, and we'll talk about AJ Cole at the end of this. I'm going to close this poll here. There was a lot that Chip Kelly said in this presser, and I think it's a lot of good. It's a lot of good. Now, you can say all the right things, right? But to me, it's about how you say them. And he comes off very measured, very experienced, very approached. And the reason why I'm bringing up Josh McDaniels, somebody, how Mike User did as well, is because there seems to be this comparison with Josh McDaniels and Chip Kelly. Josh McDaniels, he came off as though, not that, I don't want to say he came off like abrasive or smarmy. He didn't. He came off like a normal, nice, well-mannered individual. But when there was a little poking or prodding from the reporters, Josh McDaniels would take a step back. He would say, well, it happens. What are you going to do? You can prepare, and then things happen, right? He would be a little abrasive in his approach to potentially controversial questions, like why is the offense not playing as well as you think? So then this thing happens with Ashton Jeanty's stance, right? And I'll just talk about this right now. There were reports that Ashton Jeanty, he's not standing up tall anymore. He's kind of down here like every other running back who's ever played in the National Football League. Just to be completely clear, it's not as though every running back is up here and they told him, hey, why don't you do something different, Ashton Jeanty, than any other rookie running back that's ever played the game. Now, I get it. He had all these yards and all these touchdowns in Boise State. But this is the NFL, bro. You need every advantage possible. So here's what happened. Ashton Jeanty went on the Kay Adams show. And Kay loves to talk about the Raiders. Positive, negative, in between. The Raiders, we get clicks. Trust me, I know. And she was like, what's up with the stance? What are we doing about the stance? And what he said, Ashton Jeanty said, I have been coached to kind of change it. I talked with Chip Kelly, and what he described to me was, when you play basketball and you get down here in your stance, and that's how you play defense, that's kind of how we think it should be. Now, Chip Kelly was asked about this, and here's what he had to say. This isn't really a quote, but this is what happened. They asked him about the stance, and he laughed it off because he's experienced and he knows that, reporters have to ask these questions. And what he said was, I did not tell Ashton Jeanty to change his stance. I do not coach the positions. I'm the offensive coordinator, okay? And he didn't say it like as aggressively as I'm saying it right now. You can go watch the clip. It's on the Raiders YouTube channel. All he did was give him an analogy as to what the kind of stance is that they were asking him to do, that bent knee basketball analogy. And the example that he gave as to why this needs to be a change. And also he said it's a difference of 3 inches, okay? It is not, once he gets the ball in his hand, he doesn't stand straight up. It's a cosmetic thing, if anything at all. The reason why Ashton Jeanty would need to lower his center of gravity, and this was basically a quote from Chip Kelly. He said, when you have to run a flat route against Fred Warner, you better be ready in an athletic position because Fred Warner can fly, and he's bigger than you. You are not trying to run past 5'9" Fresno State linebackers here, Ashton Jeanty. You are going up against all-pro Fred Warner, right? These are all world athletic specimens at the linebacker position. And every single running back that's ever played the game has had a lower center of gravity, so they're in an athletic position to move around. Picture, if you will, if you were playing basketball against somebody in your local YMCA, you might just kind of be standing upright, like, okay, come on, blah, blah, blah. He can't get by me because I'm just a better athlete than him. But now imagine you're in the league and you're going up against Steph Curry. As an athletic individual, if anyone's ever played a sport out there, when you go up against somebody that you know is more talented than you, that you know is more talented than the people that you've played against, you all of a sudden take everything a little more seriously. It gets a little tighter. You get down a little bit lower because when you're down here, you are able to move more athletically. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You play at the YMCA, you just stand up. You're like this. Whatever, who cares? And Ashton Jeanty at Boise State, except for the Penn State game and the Oregon game, was playing YMCA football, kicking everybody's, I almost said a bad word in Bleacher Report, but. And all they said is, Ashton, you're up here. We need you 3 inches lower. And it wasn't Chip Kelly who said that. It was the running back and position coaches who gave him that hint. And I promise you, if you think going from here to here is going to change or decrease his level of talent, you are outside your own mind. This is a non-story. This is not a controversy. The only reason it is because Chip Kelly was once a head coach and got rid of LaShawn McCoy, who was a freak athlete running back. That's it. And he's getting comparisons to Josh McDaniels. But guess what? Josh McDaniels was a head of player personnel for the Raiders, even though he had a GM and Dave Ziegler. He was ahead of the offense and the defense, and he did everything. He was a CEO head coach. Chip Kelly's just calling the plays, dude. Even if Josh McDaniels and Chip Kelly are the same person, Josh McDaniels is a good play caller. Devontae Adams had like 1,800 yards, and Josh Jacobs had like 100 touchdowns the year he was calling the plays. McDaniels is a good play caller. He's not a leader of men. And Chip Kelly might not be a leader of men, but guess what? Pete Carroll is. And if Pete Carroll thinks Ashton Jeanty should stand up or sit down or play football with his arms behind his back and his eyes closed, Pete Carroll will tell them to coach him to do that. I promise you, if Chip Kelly doesn't work out as the offensive coordinator, it is not going to be because they told Ashton Jeanty to stand a little bit more in an athletic position. So as I get off my diatribe of the stance, I need you guys to honestly tell me, do you really care about how Ashton Jeanty stands before he gets the football in the backfield? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I could not possibly care less. These coaches that have been coaching for decades know what is best in terms of getting these players in an athletic position to be ready. And I think that YMCA analogy is exactly what they were using to tell him. You could stand there and look cool because you're going up against an engineering major who just happened to play football. You're not going up against TJ Watt, who can beat you to the edge. You better be ready to receive the football and get to the corner before Darius Slay beats you there. That's all. That's all. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about some other things Chip Kelly said as I let that poll roll on a little bit. Chip Kelly, things that I like that he said, because Hondo asked him, you've been a coach for a long time and you've been an offensive coordinator for a long time. And you've had different offenses everywhere you went, which is a little unusual. So are you an adaptable coach, or do you want certain players to get in position to be in a certain scheme? And he said, I'm an adapt to your personnel kind of guy. You got to evaluate who is on the roster and then create that offense around the weaponry that you have. And that is the most opposite Josh McDaniels I've ever heard a human being in my lifetime. Josh McDaniels was not adapt to your situation. It was Derek Carr. I've won 5 Super Bowls with Tom Brady. Guess who you're going to play like now? Tom Brady. And Derek Carr, not a year ago, was getting coached by John Gruden to scramble for like 4 first downs a game, minimum. They had code words to get him to scramble or whatever it was. And then Josh McDaniels comes in and goes, scratch that. You're never allowed to run again. He told that to Aiden O'Connell in the Charger game. Do not scramble. Do not move. Aiden O'Connell threw 3 interceptions. How much better did Aiden O'Connell look after Josh McDaniels was gone? We all know how bad Josh McDaniels was. Chip Kelly saying, I will look at the roster and create my offense around the people that we have is massive for my confidence level of what Chip Kelly is going to be able to do. And of all the negativity that players have said about Chip Kelly in the past, Gino Smith was the one in this press conference who said it's a dream come true to be coached by Chip Kelly. And I'm sure all those people, LaShawn McCoy, were saying that when he was the head coach. And he's not a good head coach. We've seen it. But he's a dang good offensive coordinator. Maybe it's just a hurt Raider fan to me, but I'd rather not change something that had been working so well in our first round pick. I hope it works. Just don't want anything to go wrong with Genty. Hot mic user, I promise you, if he doesn't live up to the potential, it will not be because of his stance. And just because something was working in college doesn't mean that was the correct right technique. You can say, hey, Tim Tebow, you're one of the greatest, and I'm not comparing Ashton Genty to Tim Tebow, although they're 2 of the greatest college football athletes of all time. Hey, Tim Tebow, your wonky arm motion was really working in college, so you shouldn't improve that wonky arm motion when you get to the NFL. There's always room for improvement. It doesn't matter if you're Ashton Genty or Cam Scadaboo or Brock Purdy, who was picked last, or, Sebastian Janikowski. You can get better. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. I promise you. I've been watching football a long time. That's not going to matter. Chip Kelly also said Ashton Genty was one of the quicker learners from young people that he's ever coached, which is huge because I do think this offense is going to be complex because there's a lot of moving parts. You've got deep threats in Trey Tucker and Dante Thornton. You've got possession receivers who can go up and get the ball, Jacoby Myers and Jack Best. You've got 3 tight ends apparently that are going to get in the mix here with Ian Thomas. Obviously Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. You've got multiple running backs who have different running styles, like Zamir White. I don't know if he's going to make the roster, but Raheem Mostert, Sincere McCormick, Dylan Laube. You've got Gino back there. You've got moving parts of the offensive line, and I appreciate that. One of the most impressive qualities about Ashton is his mind, which we haven't really paid attention to because he's a physical specimen. That's basically all the things that Chip Kelly said that I appreciate. Gino, do I have a? Well, I guess I'll throw this poll out here as I talk a little bit about what Gino said. Be honest with me. Don't change your opinion. Don't let me sway you if you think that I'm wrong and you're right. Like if you don't like him or if you're waiting and seeing, vote for that. I'm totally okay with that. I'm just giving you my point of view here. Okay. Gino said, okay, somebody asked Gino, how would you describe this offense? And he said, efficient and explosive. Love that. He said, we need to focus on the red zone and third down, okay? That was the first thing he said. We need to get better in the red zone, and I broke down what the offense has to do last week to get to the top 10. We scored a touchdown about 40% of the time in the red zone. The better teams are in the high 40s to mid 50s. We got to get better at that. I think being able to run the football and having a mobile quarterback is going to create those levels of efficiency in the red zone and the third down. And the third down, Jack Best is going to be that guy to step up in that role when Jacoby Myers is getting doubled or when Brock Bowers is getting doubled, and explosive. He said, obviously, we know what Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty can do, but we've got guys that can fly. Trey Tucker and Dante Thornton can fly. And if we're running the ball consistently, that play action game, and Geno Smith is like a top 5 play action quarterback in the league, that play action game is going to be sick. Let's see. Jacoby Myers said that Dante Thornton is not just a speed guy. He said, and obviously we'll wait and see what happens when we get on with pads, but he said he can run routes pretty well, and he can catch that football. It's not like a Darius Hayward-Bay just give him the ball on a jet sweep and hope he can just break one. No offense to Darius Hayward-Bay, but not the best first pick we've ever had. He also said, Jacoby Myers, that Pete Carroll must have some kind of drug he uses to be as enthusiastic as he is, which I absolutely love to hear as a person who likes to talk and likes to be positive. I appreciate that. The youthful enthusiasm of a Pete Carroll. No concerns about his age whatsoever. Jacoby Myers said that Geno Smith and Chip Kelly have basically stabilized this franchise. Now, I asked Jacoby Myers, what feels different about this year than last year? And he said, well, every year feels different because, you know, we get new coaches like every single season. But what he said was, it feels like there's a level of stability that Gino Smith has, because Jacoby Myers said, I'm a veteran. I don't feel old, but I am getting older. I'm a veteran. But he called Gino Smith a vet. And he was like, this guy knows everything like the back of his hand. If I mess up a play, he's like, no, this is what you got to do. He's a guy of integrity. He knows what's going on. And I appreciate that Jacoby Myers said that about Gino Smith. And that's basically all the takeaways I took from the press conference. Obviously, the last thing we have to talk about real quickly here is the A.J. Cole of it all. Now, he became the highest paid punter in the National Football League, and he should be, because he's a two-time All-Pro. He's the best punter pound for pound, in the National Football League. And it's crazy because I feel like we always have good punters. We went from Leckler to Marquette King to A.J. Cole, which I really appreciate. Thank you for being consistent in that regard, at least, Raiders. But the reason this is important is because Pete Carroll and Spytek have put an emphasis on re-signing homegrown players who are very good. And it was cool to watch A.J. Cole talk about the Raiders in a press conference, because you don't think it's like kickers and punters as being like too involved, although they really are. And he was like, look, I signed this contract because I like the way this team is headed. And we had some dark times last year, but like, we're grinding and we want to win. And I want to be here. Always have good kickers and normally tight ends too. Yeah, it's very strange. We're always good in specific positions and then can't find a quarterback to save our behind. Although Derek Carr is pretty good. A.J. Cole, like I said, is an automatic weapon. And look, right now, I think most people would agree. The Raiders next year are going to be like 7-10, 8-9, 9-8, right? We're going to be around that spot, maybe 10-7 if you get lucky. Which means that there's going to be a small, razor-thin margin between a lot of wins and losses. And that's in a vacuum. If you step even farther out, that means there's going to be a razor-thin margin between a winning record and a losing record, and you step even farther, and that's making the playoffs or not making the playoffs. And then if you shrink it all back down, it can come down to flipping the football field. If we go 3 and out with 5 minutes to go, and we're at our own 20, and A.J. Cole pins them inside their own 5, and then they go 3 and out. Now we have the ball at the 30. He just gave us 10 yards if the defense can get a stop. That is extremely important. Do not overlook the importance of punters. I know kickers don't feel overlooked because they literally, like, at the moment you're watching it, can win or lose you the game. But throughout the game, if A.J. Cole can consistently do what he can do, that literally could be the difference between making and missing the playoffs, if you break it down the way I just broke it. And I really appreciate that they're prioritizing special teams. Now, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on Bleacher Report, or Sunday if you're watching this on my YouTube channel. Now that we got A.J. Cole on the books, there's going to be more extensions that are going to come here, whether that's Colton Miller, Jacoby Myers, Daniel Carlson. There's going to be a lot to discuss here about extensions with the Raiders, and post-June 1st is coming, which means teams are going to cut their veterans. We're going to get a little bit more money because we're going to have some money off the books, and we might be willing and dealing. Look out for another wide receiver. Look out for Mike Hilton or Zaire White. Is that his name? The linebacker? I don't know. That feels like not right. Kazir White. Help me out here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this Bleacher Report live stream. I appreciate everybody chalking in the chat here. I hope I kind of talked you guys off the ledge of the Ashton Genty stance thing. It does not matter. It's only going to help him get lower to the ground. I promise you that. If you're watching live on Bleacher Report, thank you so much for contributing. I appreciate you guys all in the chat. If you're watching after the fact on YouTube, hit that like button, comment away, and please be sure to subscribe. It is free after all, no charge to you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.